At this point, let's see, what are we up to? 7:09. I have to finish by 7:30 because I have a kabusta with my son in Eretz Yisrael. Okay, if he calls, I might have to take the call. Just tell him that I'm. Okay. Okay. So yes, we had a machlokus between Rabbi Yossi ben Yehuda and the Chachamim about if a person's Baal Achoso. And it's also, not surprisingly, his sister is also the daughter of his father's wife. Yeah. So according to the Chachamim, he's chayev for both Achoso and for Eishes Aviv, and that's why you have a separate pasuk that begins with the words Erbas Bas Eishes Avicha. According to Rabbi Yossi ben Yehuda, it's only chayev for achoso. So they asked, according to Rabbi Yossi ben Yehuda, why do I need the words to tell me the case? Erbas bas eishes avicha. He's only chayev for achoso, not for erbas bas eishes avicha. So why does it have to tell me that? So the Gemara said, no, it needs that to teach me that it's only relates that a person's only chayev for their sister, if they have relations with their sister. If there was the ishus, if the sister came from a woman whom the father could have been married to, as opposed to if the father was married to a non-Jewish woman, a shipla or a non-Jewish woman, so then the child is considered to be not Jewish. So it might be his biological sister, but it's not his halachic sister. So that's why you need the words Erbas bes eishes avich in order to exclude such a case. So the Gemara on the top of Gimel and Aleph says maybe it comes to exclude a different case. Maybe when the father was married to a woman who was asur to him to an isolab, like for example, he married a mamzer, he married a nesina, he married a mamzeris who's forbidden to him as an isolab. That we would say that the kiddushin does not take effect; it's not considered a marriage, and the daughter is not considered to be a sister. So that you can't, since the father can't effectuate a marriage with somebody who's prohibited him as an isolab. So I'm a puppet. It's not true. The Papa says if the father married a mamzeris, if somebody's prohibited him as an isolab, then the kiddushin do take effect. Is if a man should have, meaning he has that the kiddushin are good, two women, one is beloved and one is hated. So it can't be that this says that he has to give the Yerusha to both of the sons who are born. So he's saying if one of this and if the one who's Sinua gives birth to the Bechor, so he still has to give that one a double portion. So obviously the Torah doesn't have to tell me that if he personally hates one of the women, that should have no effect on the laws of Yerusha. Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't care if he hates one of the women. Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't hate the woman. Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't have any personal vendetta against either of the women. It must mean that there's one woman who is completely permitted from the eyes of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. She's a Hupa ben Yisuah, that it was a permitted marriage, and Sinua ben Yisuah, and the other one it was a forbidden marriage. It was forbidden as an Isolab, that really the man should not have married this other woman because she was prohibited, maybe she was a Mamzerah, she was prohibited as an Isolab. And nonetheless, the Torah says Kisiyanim, that the marriage is considered to be a valid marriage, and they are considered to be his children. So obviously such a sister from such a marriage would be considered this man's sister. And we wouldn't exclude such a case from the Yisr Eva. Maybe though the Torah is coming to exclude a case where the father, for example, married his wife's sister. You have Chaybe Krisus and had a child in that case. Chaybe Krisus, we know that the marriage is not considered to be a valid marriage. So Amarabba, Amakra, no, because it says Erbas Achoska with respect to the Erba of one sister, Erbas Achoska, Basavicha, Basimecha, Moledis Bias, O Moledis Chutz. That it applies whether she's a moledis bias, that she's from the house or she comes from the outside. What does it mean comes from the outside? Meaning even in a case where you say to the father, get rid of the woman that you were with because she's not permitted to you and she's in fact not even halachically married to you. Whether you tell the father, yeah, this woman that you gave birth to a child, to a girl from, is in fact a halachic wife. Whether you say to the father, no, you can't contract marriage with such a woman because it's an Issachari's. Nonetheless, the Torah says that she's still considered to be the child of that union. The girl who was born from that union is still considered to be the fellow sister. So but why don't we say the other way around? Why don't we say that maybe the case that's being, why don't we say that that case is being excluded and the Torah is coming to include the case where the man married a girl who was born to his father from a non-Jewish woman, the case that we previously excluded. Maybe it comes to include the case that we excluded. Maybe it comes to include the case of Achosa Mishivcha Be'obedes Kochavim. The man has a sister that was born from a Shivcha or a non-Jewish woman. So why are we excluding that case and including the case of the Isser Kares? So Amakra, no, because the Torah says Bas Eishes Avicha. That's the idea. It says that this is a woman that could be married. Mishi Yeshel Ishis LeAvicha. A woman who could be married to your father, as opposed to a sister who was born from a non-Jewish woman, who's not considered to be your halakhic sister. But in the case of Chayev Krisus too, the marriage is not effectuated. So why don't we exclude that case? So Mistaba, the reason why we don't exclude the case of Chayev Krisus and we say that case is included based on Moledis Bias or Moledis Chus is because Chayev Krisus Havle Rabos, that we include based on that pasuk, Shekain Tafsi Ben Kiddushin Lialma, because these women, like the sister of your father's wife, is prohibited to him as an Isser Erba, but she's permitted to the rest of the world. So Adarabba, no, but maybe we, as opposed to a non-Jewish woman who's prohibited to every single Jewish man. So we say no, but maybe the non-Jewish woman is even better because Adarab Shivcha Beveres Kochavim, Havale the Rabbos, maybe that case we should have included. Because if she converts, then she'd be allowed to marry him. Not only could she marry every other Jew, but she could even marry the father if the woman converted, so she'd be permitted to marry him. So we say, no, when she converts, she's considered to be a totally different person. That's not the same person. The non-Jewish woman who converts to Judaism is considered a different person already. How did the Chachamim know to exclude the sister who was born from a Shivcha or Beres Kochavim, that is not considered to be an Isser Erba, even though she's biologically related as a sister, she's not halakhically related as a sister. So not Kalahu, they would derive it from the same pasuk that we used to say that in order for a man's brother to be considered to be really his brother, to require Yibum or Chalitza, he has to have been born from a Jewish woman to the father and not a non-Jewish woman. So what pasuk did we quote? That was on Chut Beis Amud Beis. We quoted the pasuk, "Me'isha v'ladeh tiyeh ladoneh." With respect to a shivcha, it says that the child of the shivcha only belongs to the shivcha, "Ha'isha v'ladeh," and stays with the master. After a man leaves from being a slave, from being an Eved Ivri, and he married a shivcha Tanainis, so he leaves. He doesn't take the woman with her. She's considered a separate entity, and her child belongs solely to us. Rabbi Yossi says, you're right, that we can learn from that pasuk, but that pasuk only teaches me about shivcha. That shivcha is not considered to be a halakhic sister. The child born from a shivcha is not a halakhic sister. But I need a separate pasuk here in the to teach me to learn from Erbas Bas Eishes Avicha to teach me that the same is true of a child who's born to Averes Kochavim. Why do I need both pasukim? Why couldn't I just use one pasuk to teach me both? It's really, no, I need both pasukim. Tiashmin and shivcha. If I only had the case of shivcha, because the shivcha, we say is imadome lachamor, right? That somebody who's a servant is not considered to have any kind of yichus connection with previous generations. So but the non-Jews are considered to be connected to their fathers, the Islachayas, like it says the psukim in Malachim, Baladon ben Baladon. Or Hadad ben Tavrimon, that we do ascribe them to their parents. So they have chayas. So Amalo, so I would say that maybe that is considered to be a relation. If I would have only had the pasuk that taught me that I would exclude Overes Kochavim, because they have no connection with mitzvah, so they're completely outside of the halakhic universe of a shivcha. But a shivcha has the obligations of an isha. We learn la meisha. Shivcha the shaykha b'mitzvahs. They're obligated in all the mitzvahs, all the mitzvahs essay, shelo ezman grama. So ema lo. So I might think that they would not be excluded from a halakhic relationship. So tzricha, that's why I need both psukim. So the Rabbanan only quoted one pasuk. They only have the pasuk of Isha v'ladeh tiyeh ladoneh, which teaches me that there's no halakhic relationship with a sister who was born from a shivcha. Rabbanan ashkan shivcha, but how do they derive Overes Kochavim minalahu? They don't derive it from the pasuk of Erbas Bas Eishes Avicha that they use to teach me that one is chayav twice for having relations with a sister. That's the chayav for the sister and the chayav for Erbas Bas Eishes Avicha if it was from a married relationship from a woman who the father was married to. So how do they derive that an Overes Kochavim is excluded from the erba of sister? If the sister was born from an Obedes Kochavim and one's father. We say you could derive from Shifka. We said Shifka might be different because there's no chayas. We already explained why we need a double psukim with respect to Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda. Presumably the same is true with respect to the Chachamim. So Rabbi Yochanan, you're right. The Chachamim derive from a different pasuk. Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, Amakra, that it says in the Sefer Devarim that Ki Asir es bincha me acharai. It said you're not allowed to bitcha lo sitein libeno, that you should not take your daughter and let your daughter marry a non-Jewish man. It's talking about this the Shiva Umos Ki Asir, because the non-Jewish husband is going to steer the child that's born away from Judaism. So we see that we're concerned the child is going to be steered away from Judaism, that the child is still considered to be Jewish, so we care about their spiritual welfare. But it also had said in the very same pasuk, at the end of the pasuk, it said, Bito, lo sikach lepanecha. Don't take the non-Jew's daughter and have the non-Jew's daughter marry your son. It didn't say kisasir, because we're worried that the daughter is going to cause your grandson to go astray. Why is that? Because your grandson's not considered your grandson in that case. If the mother is a non-Jewish woman, so then he's already not Jewish. So there's no question of steering the grandchild away from Judaism. He's already not Jewish. That's why he always says ki yasir. It's only in that case that the grandchild is Jewish altogether. Ki yasir is bincha me'achai. Bincha me'Yisrael is karoi bincha. If the mother is Jewish, so then the child is considered to be Jewish, even though the father is non-Jewish. But if the child is born from a non-Jewish woman, even though the husband might be Jewish, it doesn't matter. The child is considered to only go after the non-Jewish mother. It's considered to be non-Jewish. This is how we learn that principle. So I'm a Ravina. So Ravina said, so we see from here that in the other case, if it would be your daughter who married a non-Jewish man, and they had a child, that the child really is Jewish. That's why we care about his welfare. Kari bincha is considered to be your child. So we see we follow matrilineal descent, and it's considered to be a kosher child. So Lema Kasava Ravina, so it must be the Ravina is of the opinion that such a child is kosher. Apply kosher, that the blood is considered to be Jewish. There's an opinion that the child is Jewish, but the child's a mamzer. Tosfos talks about that opinion, but the Gemara records the opinion that we follow. The child is Jewish, and the child's not a mamzer. The child is kosher. So say, yeah, the child's kosher, but not a mamzer. Neither mamzer loavi, kosher nami loavi. Not completely kosher either. If it would be a daughter born from such a union, we would say that she's pogum. We saw apostle mikri. It's called we saw apostle. There's a pigima. There's a taint with respect to such a child. So the daughter, if it would be a daughter, she wouldn't be allowed to marry a Kohen. That's the way that we paskin. So we say that's nice. We could derive from this pasuk that the child, let's say the daughter of a non-Jewish woman who had relations with one's father, would not be their halakhic sister. But that pasuk is only talking about the Zayid Umos. Hai b'shiva Umos ksiv. How do we know it applies to every other nation? So we say because it says ki asir. We didn't need to give an explanation in the pasuk as to why it is that you can't have you can't have your daughter marry a non-Jewish man, but it says ki yasir lavabas kol mesirim. So this includes sort of anybody who would cause the grandchild to go astray, which means that we're talking not only about the Shiva Umas, but we're talking about all the nations of the world. Because I would have known that that's the reasoning anyway. The fact that, and I would have said that's a reason that applies to the Zayin Umos. And then there's the fact that the reason is actually recorded, so that it comes to include all the other nations as well. So Hani Kala Rabbi Shimon, that makes sense according to Rabbi Shimon, the Darish Time in the Kwa, who says that even if I didn't give the reason for something, I would have been able to infer the reason myself. So once the reason is given, so it must come to have a special extra reboy. But according to the Chachamim, that no, I don't normally circumscribe a mitzvah based on the reason. I give the reason. So I'd say, okay, that mostly applies to the Zayin Umos. Now, how would I know the other Umos? So Montana, the Polygaled, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, we say no. The Tana, when we talk about the Rabbanan here, who are deriving from this pasuk that the child born from a non-Jewish woman would be considered to be not halakhically related as a sister. So that Tana, that the Rabbanan there is Rabbi Shimon. It's in fact Rabbi Shimoni. So therefore we can derive from this pasuk not only the Zayin Umos, but we have a reboy from the fact that it says Ki Yasir that will include all the other nations as well. Okay, we'll turn to the next page. And I Mishnah Misha Kedesh Achas. So you have so in addition to the Daraisa, that a person is not allowed to marry an Ishes not allowed to marry their brother's wife if it's not b'makom mitzvahs yibum. So there are all kinds of drabanas. So you're not allowed to marry an achas chalutza. Let's say that the woman you did chalitza with one woman and she has a sister. So just like if a man was married to a woman and divorced her, he's not allowed to marry the sister. That's achos kushaso. So also goes so that you can't marry achos kalutzaso. And then there's another halacha, you can't marry achas sikukaso. If there's a woman who falls in front of a man and she's linked to him, so he has to do or his brother has to do either yibum or chalitza. So until yibum or chalitza is performed with respect to that woman, so her sister would be forbidden to the other brother based on achas sikukaso, based on the fact that this is the sister who is zakuka to him, who is the sister of the one who is zakuka to him, for whom he would have to do yibum or chalitza. So that's a little bit similar to achos ishto, because this woman, the one who falls in front of him for yibum or chalitza, is linked to him. So it's like he's already a little bit considered married to her. So he can't marry the sister either because it's like achos ishto. So that's called achos sikukaso. But achos sikukaso, yeah, go ahead.
He was engaged to.
Not engaged. Nobody's engaged there. You have sometimes a man dies without any children, and then the wife falls in front of the brother. So that woman is considered to be a zakuka. She's considered linked to him until he does yibum or chalitza. So until he does yibum or chalitza, the sister of that woman wasn't married to his brother. Wasn't married to his brother. Was married to somebody else, or to nobody. That the sister of that woman is prohibited to him because she's achos sikukaso. She's the sister of the one who's linked to him. But the issur of achos sikukaso only applies until while the zika is still in effect. If the woman who fell in front of him had the yibum or chalitza performed on her, let's say by a different brother, so then the sister would be permitted to him because she's no longer achos sikukaso. So this Mishnah deals with the achos sikukaso, it deals with achos chalutzaso, it deals with, and also there's an issur, I'm sorry, if he himself did chalitza on one woman, then he would never be allowed to marry the sister because that sister would be achos chalutzaso. Achos chalutzaso is always going to be prohibited. And then there's another issue that if a woman is supposed to do yibum with a particular man, and she hasn't, even though you're not related to that woman at all, but she didn't do the yibum or chalitza with the man she was supposed to, with the brother of the husband who died. So then you can't marry her because she's considered to be yavam l'shuk. She's not allowed to marry a foreigner until she breaks the linkage with the brother, until she does yibum or chalitza. That's called issa yavam l'shuk. So in various ways, this Mishnah alludes to all three of those isurim. Okay, so we have to bite the bullet and do the Mishnah. So mishikidesh achas, if somebody wants, there are pictures of all the cases in this, right? We have the picture book. Does anybody have the picture book? It's a good picture book. It tells you. What?
We have dolls.
So you have dolls. Oh, okay, even better. Wow, that's a great idea. Okay, fine. So, all right. So mishikidesh. That's hilarious. Okay, mishikidesh. Achas mishtei achayos. Somebody marries one of two sisters. Okay. Ben Yodeam Ezaman Kidesh. This guy is a real winner. So he goes and he contracts a marriage with one of two sisters, but he can't remember which one he married. He's giving a shear. So no saying get lezu, but get lezu. So since he doesn't remember which one he contracted marriage with, so each one is potentially achos ishto. So he can't live with either one of them. Because if he be with one of them, maybe it's really just the sister of the one that he's married to, which is an issachari, so he has to give and get to each one of them. Okay, I'm sorry?
She doesn't know either?
No, apparently nobody knows. So maybe he said that I'm giving this money over to marry one of the two sisters, and he doesn't specify. That'd be kind of hard. That would be a kiddushin she'em mesur in the bia. That'd be when he contracted the kiddushin, it was done in a vague way that you would never know which sister he married. So is that even a valid kiddushin? So Gemara is going to ask that question. That's probably not a valid kiddushin. So it could be he knew at the beginning, but then he forgot afterwards. He forgot. She forgot. Everybody forgot. He forgot. He didn't know, and she was wearing a very, very thick veil. She couldn't see who was giving her the money, and who was giving her the ring, and he couldn't see who he was giving the ring to. And by the time they took off the veils, they didn't remember who gave the ring to which one. So meis v'lo ach, and then let's say that he died, and he had a brother. So he doesn't know which one is really the one to do yibum with, and which one is the sister of that one. So if it's the sister, so it's achas sekukaso. He can't do yibum with achas sekukaso. And he can't do yibum with so since either one might be achas sekukaso, so he can't do yibum, so he does chalitza for both of them. If there were two brothers, so then that's okay. If there were two brothers, so the one brother gives chalitza, echad choletz, and if that was the yavama, so then he got rid of the zika. ve'echad miyavim, and then the other one is miyavim the other one. So if this is really the yavama, so he did yibum, no problem. And if it's achas kukaso, it's not achas kukaso anymore because the one who was the real yibum had chalitza performed for her by the other brother, so she's no longer achas kukaso. Kinmu v'kinsu emotzim miyadam. In the event that both of the brothers just run and they do yibum and nobody does chalitza, so it could be that the first brother who married the woman, that woman really was not his yibama. It was really his achos kuka. It was really her sister, and he shouldn't have married her to begin with. But when the other one performs yibum, he breaks the zika. And once he breaks the zika, so then the one who was the achas kuka, so retroactively, or at least mikana lahava, becomes permitted to the first brother who married her, even though when he originally married her, he wasn't supposed to because she was achas kukaso. Okay. Shnayim shekitshu shtei akayos. If you have two brothers who married two sisters, I'm sorry, they're not two brothers. If they would be two brothers, we'd have a bigger problem. You have two unrelated men who married two sisters, Zayn and Yodea Ezokidesh, and they're both winners. Neither one remembers which one they married. Okay, so both of the sisters are married to one of these men, but neither sister can remember who married whom. Zayn or Yodea Ezokidesh or Zayn or Yodea Ezokidesh. So therefore, each one has to be worried. They're going to have relations with Achos Ishto, so they have to give gittin to both of them. So no Saint Shnei gittin. So each one, Zeno Saint Shnei gittin. So this brother gives gittin to both the women, so that this way for sure he's giving a get to the one who's really his wife. Zeno Saint Shnei gittin, and the other one gives two gittin to both women, so he makes sure to give a get to the one who's really his wife. Good. And now they're free to marry somebody else. But let's say that they died before they had a chance to give the gittin, Mesa. So then let's say that the one of the brothers who died had one brother, and the other one who died also had a brother. So what do the brothers do? Because the brothers don't know which one is really the Yavama and which one is really the Achos Kukaso. So therefore, each one has to give chalitza to both of them. Because they can't do yibum because they might be pogea ba'achas kukaso. But if one of them has one brother and then they can't do yibum afterwards because then that would be potentially achas chalutzaso. So if one of the deceased brothers had one brother, okay, and the other deceased brother had two brothers, okay, so the one brother can only do chalitza to both of them because if he does chalitza to one, and then does yibum with the other one, so it could be that that woman is achas chalutzaso. Maybe he gave chalitza to the right woman, who was really his yibama. In which case, this woman that he's now marrying is the sister of his chalutza, who's permanently prohibited to him. Shnayim, however, with respect to the brother who had two brothers, so they have an easier situation because neither of them have to worry about achas chalutzaso. Have one of them do chalitza and the other one will do yibum. So either he got the right yibama or he got the sister of the yibama who would have been achas kukaso. But once both of the other, both brothers on both sides have performed chalitza, so then he doesn't have to worry anymore that this woman is achas kukaso because the zika has been broken. So therefore, the remaining brothers, echad koletz. So one of them does chalitza ve'echad miyavim, and the other one can do yibum with the remaining sister. It's either his yivama or it's a sister of a woman who's no longer his sukukaso, which would be okay. Kimu v'kinsu. If the two brothers both did yibum together on both of these sisters, so one of them got the right girl, and the other one, okay, so the zika had been broken. So since the zika had been broken, since the brother of the other one had done chalitza for both, so therefore it's no longer achas ukaso, so he's good. Let's say that both of the brothers who were married to these women, who were the two sisters, and they didn't know which one was married to which. Each one of them had two brothers. So achiv shel zeh choletz la'achas. So one of the brothers should do chalitza to, let's say that the two girls are Rachel and Leah. So one of the brother on one side gives the chalitza to Leah. Achiv shel zeh, and the brother on the other, the other side gives chalitza to Leah. Achiv shel zeh choletz la'achas. Achiv shel zeh miyavim chalutzaso shel zeh. So the brother who was who did the chalitza for Rachel, so his brother can now marry Leah, and the other brother who had done chalitza to Leah, so his brother can do yibum on Rachel. Because either they'll be marrying their Yavama, or if not the Yavama, it'll be only Achas Ukukaso, where the Zika had already been broken, and you wouldn't have to worry about Yavama Lashuk either, because the fact that she was given the proper, chalitza by, her true, the true brother who was really linked to her, had properly given a chalitza. So kid mushnayim bechiltzu. Let's say that the two brothers on one side but perform chalitza to both sisters. So lo yibmu hashnayim. So the two brothers on the other side should not both perform yibum. Ela echad choles ve'echad miyibum. Rather, one of them should do chalitza and one should do yibum, because if the first one who does yibum, it's possible that really this is the sister who is zekuka to him. Or that this was the sister of somebody of the one who's a kuka to him, and he's marrying achos chalutza. So therefore, and it's not really the yavama, and therefore you need one of them to be choles first in order to remove the zika. And then the next one can do yibum mimanav shach, because either this woman is in fact the right sister to do yibum on, and if it's only the sister of the one that he was supposed to do the yibum on, so it's no longer achos zikukaso, because the other one had done chalitza. So kidma v'kinsu ematsim miyadam, and in the event that they both did yibum, so we wouldn't have to worry about anything after the fact, because by the time the second one does yibum, the zika has already been removed, and therefore there's no longer an achas sekukaso problem. Good. Gemara says shmami na. So Gemara says, so we see from here that the fact that the kiddushin is good in the first place, even though the two men, or the first man, when we had one man and when we had two men, they didn't know who they were married to, in which sister they were married to, in which case if there was no ability to ever have bia, because there would have been a concern from the outset that he's going to be having relations with achos isha. So we see from here the kiddushin sheim masun the bia abu kiddushin. The kiddushin that don't have the potential of bia from the outset is considered to be a good kiddushin, and that's why you get is needed. Otherwise, we shouldn't require a get altogether. So we say no, it's not necessarily a proof. That is the halacha, but it's not necessarily a proof from our Mishnah, because hacha b'mayim skinan. We could say that what are we talking about? When originally it was recognized, they knew when they contracted the marriage which sister was which. But then afterwards, everybody was in all the festivities of all the dancing and the singing or whatever, they got mixed up in the middle, and they don't remember anymore, right? So which sister is which one they're married to. So they can have the Tanaveni there. It says he doesn't know who he married. I guess as you said, she doesn't know either. Below Katani Veino Yadua. It doesn't say that it wasn't known. It was known. It's just that now they no longer know. So Shmami no. So my Kamash Malan. What is apparently they don't remember either. As they said they were wearing these thick veils. They couldn't see anything. So my Kamash Malan, this is a raya that you see they always wore thick veils. So my Kamash Malan, why is what's the chiddush over here? So obviously, if he doesn't know which sister he's married to, he's going to have to give a get to the two sisters. So sefer it's stricha. So we say no. The chiddush is the sefer that teaches me the issur of achas sekukaso. That's really the whole chiddush over here. That there is such an issur of achas sekukaso that says meis lo ach echad, that if he died and he had a brother, so then he can't perform a yibum choletz l'shtein. That he would be obligated to do chalitza for both of them, because maybe it's achas sekukaso, and that they're the one that he's first marrying, and not the one that is really sekukaso. So he's not doing yibum, and he's prohibited, and he is committing the issur of achas sekukaso. And maybe the one that he's going to give chalitza to first really was the woman he was supposed to do yibum for, in which case the second one is going to be achas chalutzaso. So that's why he can't even do yibum after he did chalitza. But if you had two brothers, so then you would get rid of the zika. You wouldn't have an achas chalutzaso problem if only one of them did chalitza and the other one did yibum. So then you'd be able to do it as long as the order was that one of them would do chalitza first, either on his yibum, either on the person who is his yibama, or he's doing chalitza by mistake. And then the second one will either perform actual yibum, or will be marrying a woman who was the sister of the one that was formerly eligible for yibum, but now had a chalitza performed on her. So therefore, the sister is no longer achas chalutzaso. Davka, but in the first instance, you're supposed to do chalitza first in order to avoid the achas chalutzaso problem. Davka miklas v'ad yivume by yivume bereisha lo. Why the kapaga b'achas sekukaso? It teaches me the halacha of achas sekukaso. Okay, next din. Washnayim shekitzu shtei achayos, that if I had two strangers, they're not brothers, two strangers that married two sisters, and they don't remember which one married whom, and therefore everybody has to get a get. And if they died before they gave the get, so that's when we have tzaros. So Shema Mina Kiddushin She'ein Mesura in the beer. Habu Kiddushin. So here we have the same Chiddush. We see, we have the second clause. So maybe the second clause in the Mishnah for sure is teaching me this Chiddush, that even though they from the get-go they never would have been able to have relations with their wife because each wife was maybe Achos Isha. And nonetheless we say that they require a get. So we say no. Hakanami in this case as well. They originally knew who they were marrying, and they just forgot afterwards. They forgot. Hakanami Keshihuku the Besopni Sabu Dekanami. And here too, we have a similar lashon that we had in the first case, that it teaches me that this was the case scenario. Because it says he no longer knows. It means he once knew. Once upon a time, when they first got married, they knew who they were marrying. Lokatani ve'en yadua. Was yadua, just that now they don't know. So shmami no. My kamash malan. So what are we learning in the second case that we didn't know in the first case? What is it that we know from this case? So my kamash malan. So seifa itzrichale. The chiddush is the case of the seifa, which said mesu, that if they died, lazeh echad lazeh shnayim, that one of them had one brother and one of them had two brothers. So I would have thought, so it says, the one who's the one brother, he has no choice but to perform chalitza to both of them, because the second one might be achas chalutzaso, so therefore he can't marry the second one either. But the second one, echad choles v'echad miyavim. The second one, we say that the first one he has to do chalitza because it's maybe achas sukukaso and not his yivama. And then the next one, the zika has already been removed from either this brother or the other brother, either the first one's brother or the second one's brother. So therefore, the second brother of the second one can perform yibum because it's either his yivama, or if it was achas sukukaso, the zika has been removed. So pshita. So we already know all those principles. We could just plug the principles, into this particular case, and we'll be able to, get the result from the formula that we already know. So isn't that pshita? So we say hainu reisha. That's the same thing that we learned from the reisha. So we say no. I would have thought that I'm not going to allow in this case, right? What was pshita to them is not necessarily pshita to us. So ma'al the tema and ligs. I mean, come on, how hard is this, right? Ma'al the tema ligs are a tray atzuchad. So I might have thought no. That maybe in this particular case, because of the fact that I have one brother on this side and I have one brother on the other side, that you're going to have that I have to be gozer. Maybe I'd have to be gozer. In this case, ligs a trey atzuchad. When I have the two brothers, I have to be gozer not to allow them each to perform a yibum. Kamash Malan, that I'm not going to be gozer in that case. The davka, why is it that I would potentially be gozer? Because if I have one brother, so the one brother definitely has to do chalitza to both, so they're going to remember to do chalitza. But I might think that in the case where I have, let's say, two brothers, so I'm going to have the last case that we had in the Mishnah, one of each set is going to perform yibum, so I might forget to do the chalitza altogether. So maybe I'd have to be gozer in that case. So kamash malan, that I don't have to be gozer. The davka, I would allow the yibum for both sides as long as one of the two brothers has already performed chalitza. The davka miklas v'hadar yivume about yivume bereisha lo. But I don't allow yibum first. Why is it that I don't allow yibum first? The kapaga b'yabama l'shuk. Because here I have to be worried, even if the zika has been removed. I have to be worried that the other fellow, the brother from the other side, if he was really the one who was supposed to perform yibum chalitza with this woman and he didn't do it yet, so then this woman is going to be a yibam l'shuk. She's going to be a woman who didn't have the yibum properly performed with her. So that's why I have to make sure that the brother from the other side has performed chalitza with both of the women, so I'm not going to have a problem of Yavam L'Shuk, in addition to not having a problem of Achas Sukukaso. Okay, so L'Zeh Shnayim, then we said if I have the two brothers from each side, so then I allow for the chalitza to be performed by one brother and Yibum to be performed by the other brother. L'Zeh Shnayim, Hasu lamali, hainu hach. So ma'u the tema ligza dilma miyavim below chalitza, that I might be worried that I'm going to have a yibum performed without chalitza altogether. So because of the fact that yibum is being performed, ma'u the tema ligza Mr. Dilma yavim below chalitza, kamash malan, I don't have to worry about it. So ma'ishna, why is it that in all of these cases, I ultimately, as long as I remove the zika, and I only have to be worried that, okay, maybe the person really is performing the mitzvah of Yibum with the woman who really comes from his own brother. And if it doesn't come from his brother, so and it's Achas Zekuka, so it's just the sister of the one who was a Zekuka to him, so the Zika has already been performed. So why is it that I allow the Yibum then in such a case, Ma'ishna Me'ah, as opposed to the case of the Mishnah, where it says that if I have brothers who are married to sisters, I don't allow the Yibum altogether. And I say that if they perform Yibum, they have to get rid of them afterwards. It's not, if I have 4 brothers and 2 of them are married to 2 sisters and those 2 brothers die, and now there's difference in this case as opposed to our case is that not only were they married to 2 sisters, but they also were brothers. In our case, they're not brothers with each other, so they don't have to worry that you had or that all of the women were considered to have come in front of them. Only one of the women was considered to be their Zekuka, and the other one was Achas Zekukaso. But we didn't have a problem that there was Zika with each one of the women that fell in front of them. But here it's a different story because because each case the woman is coming from their own brother. So 2 of them die, and both of the sisters that come in front of the other 2 brothers are eligible to the brothers as their actual Zikos. In this case, we only allow chalitza. We don't allow yibum even b'di'evet. So we say hafiyashta. That's a different case because the 2 men who were married were both brothers with each other. So Hasam ilaman dama. We're starting now. Chub dalim and aleph ilaman dama yesh zika yesh zika. If in fact we hold that there is a principle of a zika, so that means that in each case the both women were considered to be zekuka to him. And therefore the Zika doesn't go away. It's not like we only have an Achas Zekukaso problem over here. We have a real Zika problem over here. So because of the fact that when the 2 women fell in front of the men, each one was Achos Isha to each other. So there never was a Zika with either one because he was prohibited to marry either one of them because he was going to be marrying effectively Achos Isha based on the principle of Zika. Each one was the sister of somebody who was designated was linked to him. And therefore, based on the principle of Yesh Zika, she was prohibited to him for at least a moment. Once she's prohibited to him for a moment, so the issue of Eishes Ach never went away because I never had Eishes Ach Makom Mitzvahs considered Eishes Ach Shloba Makom Mitzvah, which I'm sure is very easy to follow. And if it's going like, and well, if you don't know like Zika, but you say that what I'm worried about is that you're going to be Mabato Mitzvahs Yibamim. What does that mean? That if, for example, one of the brothers does Yibum, and then the other one, before he has a chance to do Yibum with the other sister, if I say that there wasn't Zika, so each brother can marry one sister, it doesn't matter because if the second brother dies before he has a chance to perform Yibum or Chalitza, so then that second sister is now going to be Achos Isha of the one who had performed Yibum with the other sister. And she's going to be Yotzeis based on Erba. He's not going to be able to do Yibum or Chalitza with her altogether. And therefore, you're going to have a bittul, a mitzvah yibamim, if Yibum is going to be performed at all. So therefore, us levata mitzvah yibamim. But here, but here you don't have the problem of Zika. You don't have the problem of being mevatel mitzvah yibamim, because it's perfectly possible that each one of the brothers from the different sides is marrying the woman who was the Yavama who was designated to him. And the worst case scenario, if it wasn't the Yavama who was designated to him, it was the sister of that Yavama, and the Zika had already been removed, and the Yisra Yavama Lashuk had already been removed by virtue of the fact that everybody had performed chalitzas all around. Stop there. Simple doc. Okay.